So many people are cowards. They're scared to be themselves. They're scared to speak up and actually say what they think. So they hide behind propaganda. They hide behind other people's opinions because they're really, really terrified of a negative public image. Me, I'm the polar opposite. I'll always say what I think. I really couldn't give a shit what anyone thinks negatively about it. At least I have an original thought. Yeah, I'm not here to attack people, but it's really just shine a light on the fact that refusing to talk on subjects, it does show an innate weakness. And a lot of people like to posture strength, but sometimes they just regurgitate what other people are saying. Me, I'm an original thinker. I'll say what I think. It doesn't always go positively with public opinion, but sometimes the public opinion is biased because it leans towards propaganda. I hate talking about Donald Trump. I think the guy's an absolute clown. I think he's an idiot. I think he's petulant. I don't think he has the intelligence some people think he does. And you can tell by the way he articulates himself. You could argue that some people are intelligent and they don't articulate very well, like neurodivergency and all this stuff. Yeah, and I agree to a point. He is a different level. That's not intelligent speaking. He's obtrusive. He talks over people. He doesn't like someone else having their voices heard. So he just gets louder and keeps repeating nonsense. So he'll keep repeating the same word like a child in a playground. A bully. That's all he is. He's narcissistic at his core. I'm going to share a couple of videos, and it's more about the Zelensky situation with Ukraine. Believe me, I've seen enough of this. I've seen enough of Trump over the years and recently, and I can't help it. I didn't even want to talk about him. Personally, if I have career opportunities at the moment, I have no interest in traveling into America while he's in charge. Doesn't mean I won't, but realistically, I think it's a mess while he's there, in all honesty. I think he's a clown. Don't care about people's position. I think he's fortunate to be there. I think it wasn't, you got to look at things, put things into perspective. It wasn't too long ago where he was dealing with legal issues. And all of a sudden, literally, it was just before he came into office. And now all of a sudden, he's one of the most powerful men in the world. Make it make sense, and then he surrounded himself by really, really other bullies. And they have no decorum. But it just seems to be as and when it suits. There was a situation yesterday that I just watched and I just thought, oh my God, is he serious? So you've got other heads of state. And people, like I saw Macron from France, and he was holding his own with Trump. He wasn't letting Trump talk nonsense. He was holding him accountable, and I like that. Let's see, the UK Prime Minister, Starmer, he caused a lot of division, he does, but at the same time, he is our head of state, so he's there, and he's talking to Trump, and Trump's trying to control it. But I did like the fact that Starmer's speaking up, but there was one part I just thought, who does that? So Starmer was addressing a situation about Canada, which Trump does not like to have conveyed because he wants to control the narrative, and he actually said enough. He literally said enough to the UK Prime Minister. Now, I know there's diplomacy and I know there's a time to bite your tongue. But if I was in charge of a nation, because I'm the head of that nation, I wouldn't allow someone to do that, whether I'm in their country or not. And that's what Trump does. He postures because he has strength around him, hitting numbers. And of course, he is the head of a very powerful nation. But I've already said before, back in January, when he came into office and his bully tactics already started, I said he's going to alienate himself in America. And that's what's going to happen over the next few years. It's quite obvious. I said when he was bullying Canada and Mexico, I can see them fighting back. And I hope they do. I hope they stand firm against tariffs. They did. And Trump had to back down. I then said that they will end up doing trade with other nations like China and Europe. And pretty sure that's what's going to happen. And I said Europe will end up coming together because you can't trust America right now because Trump doesn't keep to his word and he's a petulant child. Other heads of state are professional. And you can't deal with a nation that's less petulant. It's ridiculous. So Trump at the moment is posturing as he's the most powerful man in the world. Okay, America's powerful. I can't see it being, by the end of Trump's term, I can't see it being the position it was before he took office. I can't. I think other nations will prosper because they'll unite together. And America's position on the world stage will be diminished. So he's aligning himself with tyrants, dictators in Russia and other nations, and it's quite crazy to me because I don't think that's what the American people, signed up for. I don't think that's what they expected. At the same time, a lot of Americans, they do fall into the propaganda. They do believe everything comes out of Trump's mouth. You've got a petulant baby that talks, and people just go, "Yeah, he's making change for the better." It's like this guy doesn't care about you. This guy doesn't care about you. He just wants to be remembered. You look at his age. He's got nothing to lose, even if he is going to be remembered as a tyrant. But yeah, so he's literally the way he's handling state officials, especially heads of state, is I think it's quite poor and incredibly rude. So I just watched him with Zelensky, and I just thought, my God. See, I wait for the cameras to be on. I wonder if he does this behind closed doors. You know, the one thing I noticed, okay, you could take all the way the bad, you know, the way he's talking to him, is the fact that, and I'm always aware, I'm very good at watching people, and some people will go, well, it's true. Regardless, he's terrified of someone else having a say. He's terrified of a response. He has to talk, and then no one has to, and then he'll talk over someone as soon as they react. So only his opinion gets recognised. See, if you don't agree with him, he throws a hissy fit. And yesterday, I watched him get a letter from King Charles, offering him a state visit. You know, so he gets to meet the king and the royal family. And apparently, that's something that really he really adores, the royal family, because he's all about status. That's all Trump's all about. If looking at his personality, the way he's governing his country, the division he's causing around the world, and in America, any sensible person would say that's a diplomatic response to a very uncontrolled, unhinged American president. That's quite a diplomatic response. There's no way I don't think that King Charles really wants to meet Donald Trump. But Donald Trump thinks, look, this has never happened in history. Well, they have no other way to handle you, you crazy son of a bitch. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to find a way to handle you. Yeah, I think he's mad. And his vice president is incredibly rude, that Vance. And every time I see him, I swear he's got mascara on or something. I look at his eyes and I'm like, he's wearing makeup, isn't he? He's wearing makeup. Now, I'd say there's nothing wrong with it, but at least own it. This guy's a clown. He just said to Zelensky about wearing an office. They're really trying to demean him publicly. They're trying to berate. I know what they're doing. Again, other people, I think they've got the war over their eyes. By doing it publicly, he's showing Trump. I mean, Trump is showing Putin that he's keeping to his word in siding with Russia, because Russians won't trust Americans. They're never going to trust America. So you're going to have to do some public statements, and you're going to have to make it quite evident that you keep it to your word. And then Russia can start working with America and trust them to do underhand agreements. That's quite obvious to me. So by doing this, there's no reason to do this stuff publicly. It's to obviously appease Russia. But again, like I say, most people are scared of their own shadow, and they won't talk on anything. They won't talk on facts in life. I'm going to show some little bits now, because I don't want this video to be too long-winded. But I think people need to start, growing a pair of balls, per se. It's like, just speak up. I don't care about my reputation, whether it takes a nosedive because I have an opinion on something. I just don't care. I'm here to be myself, authentic from birth to the end. And I don't, and that's how I will always be. So I don't care if I reach the top of a mountain, you get a massive status, and then you say something, and then your credibility goes, and then it's like, I can't care shit, because I never pretended to be anything other than me. Like me or hate me, I'm me. And that's what I'll always be, I'm not going to hide behind someone else's words. You'll always hear what I have to say on a topic. And it's always going to align with what the public wants to hear. So yeah, I do see a lot of people, they look up and admire Trump. And I can understand from the point of the fact that he does challenge democracies and things. He does challenge the status quo, but not always in the best way. It can cause people to look at things. So for instance, I'm not going to go too deep, but if you look at the way the American politics system is, I don't know if it works. I don't know it deeply, but I can see it's flawed. It's very much people have been paid and bought for. These are people in high positions of power who make big decisions, and it affects the politics system when people are supposed to be voted for to represent people. And I don't think that's really what's working in America. So I always look at America like it was like a lot of their democracies were birthed from England. So when the UK had its empire, and then America's gone in its own way to build their politics system. And you've got to wonder whether it actually works, because I can't help but think one day America may be very similar to the UK in the way it does politics. So one man doesn't have as much power. Like, again, Trump's becoming a king, and it's quite crazy. And I think, are the American people going to realise this isn't really the way politics should work? We're going to have to set in new parameters. And eventually, maybe you look over at the UK and go, look, we've tried to do it our way. We've done it our way for years. We're trying to set our own standard, but it doesn't work. Because America is a very young country. This isn't me patronising America. It's me just pointing out the fact that America's still trying to figure itself out, trying to learn. common decency and things like this. There's issues around gun control and all this, and most other countries, I say most, don't actually have guns. Because it isn't common decency. It's not a democracy. It's not. It's dangerous. Um, Now, no country is purely safe, so I'm not trying to say that. But I mean, you have got to look at the same time. If you're one country acting incredibly different to the rest, sometimes you've got to look and think, maybe there's something wrong here. And I can see an awful lot wrong, and a lot of it's, I can see a lot of wrong in bloody Trump. To be honest. So I just want to read a little statement I made. It was nothing about Trump. It's my statement that I made on LinkedIn, where all the professionals are, where people like want to be status, they want to sort of like hobnob. This is what I don't like about like business per se. They call it business to business, don't they? B2B. There's too many. I call it kiss ass, and that's how a lot of businesses run. That's how a lot of professionals do. They mingle between each other, and they do everything they can to smile and act like they're your friend. And that's what I don't really trust that side of people. It's always to gain, never sincere or rarely sincere. And I just think people are very conniving and sneaky. So I'm sort of like on that platform, and I just made a post. I'm not going to get attention on it because people they wouldn't have the guts to side with someone's statement when they're very headstrong, because people are too worried about their own image. Yeah. So anyway, this isn't related to that, but we are going to get onto Trump straight after. So I've never been a fan of building connections to gain influence. So social media and networking aren't interesting to me. I prefer a direct approach of supporting and inspiring people without expecting anything in return. I don't gatekeep my healing journey or outlook on life. Although I've authored multiple books, I've also produced thousands of videos and freely shared content to help people overcome circumstances and create a better life. I occasionally post here, but not nearly as often as the videos I create on YouTube and TikTok. Hopefully, more people will genuinely give their time to doing what's right, rather than hiding behind what they can gain. Popularity contests aren't interesting, and I don't look up or down at people. We're all equal. Just some are further on in their development, some forgo morals, and others are struggling, healing, or growing. Personally, I think it would be better to reach the top of the mountain with integrity intact, and that often means going about life differently than most. After all, much of society is corrupt, so following corruption and seeking to replicate it doesn't do much to inspire. Sometimes it's worth considering what we can contribute rather than what we can gain. And then I did a video that I'd already posted on my other TikTok channel, my clips channel, where I post smaller clippets between 1 and 3 minutes. Yeah, it hasn't had any attention. I didn't expect it to, because people are bots, paid and bought for the most part. They never have an original thought, and that's life. That's the way. That's the life we're surrounded by. So this is my favourite section. I like a range of stuff. I like range of content. We got that Vance guy over here to the right hand side. He's an idiot. He's out of his depth when it comes to European leaders, because Americans, they like to hear their own voice. You could argue I do too. There's arguments left and right. But yeah, I just think some people are hiding behind the status of their country, and I think that's what these guys are doing. But they're acting like they're the voice of reason when they're really just tyrants. I was thinking about just showing a couple of other. In fact, before we get on to Trump, this is just before if people have got the attention span to get this far, hopefully you can bear with me, because I don't like keep cutting my videos short just because I worry about the audience, because that's what happens, I end up sometimes thinking I better minimize this. And it's like, it reduces the message, So we've got Trump about the Gaza situation here in Israel. We're not going to go deep. We're not going to bother with that at the moment. We're not for this video. I've already done. Again, I've already touched on some videos. You go on my YouTube. It's there. It's going to be hard because I'm going to have to go back and forward. You know what? I might just go back straight into the thing. So effectively, just to sum it up, you've got Vance is telling leaders in America, in Europe, that they're not investing enough. I don't know if he did a bit about the investing enough in the military. I think that might be Trump's thing. But he was telling people they don't have free speech in Europe, and that needs to change. People need to start having free speech. And meanwhile, you watch a petulant president, who he represents really, because he's a vice president. He's there on his behest. He's shutting down anyone that talks, because he talks over them. and he's saying, you need free speech. This guy's a clown. um, yeah, and then the German. I don't know if it's German Prime Minister or President. I don't know what it is in Germany. I think it's Prime Minister. I'm not sure. But anyway, German leader. I think it's German leader. It might be wrong. Oh, this one spoke up. One of them spoke up and said something really profound and great, and it was really unifying for Europe. And then someone else said something. I don't know if it was I think it was the Swedish. I can't remember now. But it's nice that European leaders speaking up and they're coming together and they have commonality. I like that commonality. They have very, very similar ideals on life, and it definitely aligns with more with me for sure than Trump's crazy. So let's just talk about the reason I want to do this is really just to show the bullying tactics, because I think that's the part that people miss. Sometimes you sit there and think, oh yeah, that's a good point. It's like, no, listen, look at the way he's behaving. They're outnumbering. Bear in mind, Zelensky is the leader, the head of state of Ukraine. It's like, have more respect for a leader, you know. And look at what they've been up against. For crying out loud, people are quick to forget. I still remember when it first happened, this invasion of Ukraine, and he had to come together. It doesn't matter what. Again, the point is, because I think he was a comedian before he become into politics. So the trouble is, some people they look down at people. Everyone starts from somewhere, and it doesn't matter who you was yesterday. It's who are you today. That's what matters. Who are you? And he's been trying to control this situation. And I don't think anyone would have handled it any different, any better. People can keep saying this and saying that, but it's like, if your country's been invaded, you have every right to protect your sovereignty and you protect your people. I haven't followed it entirely. It's hard to keep up with it. And especially when it's broadcast in the news, for instance, you can only hear certain aspects. So there is propaganda on every side. But when you're just trying to defend your borders, I don't know what more you can do, and you expect people to come together. And America's always about its own interests. It's always been about its own interests. They don't do anything for the higher good of people, humanity. If you got positioned to help support, then you would without regard. But America only helps where it can gain. So it's all about self-preservation with America. And that's going to come back to bite them one day, because the way they behave isn't always fair. And I've already said, USA is part of the American continent, and it's very isolated from the rest of the world. You've got the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean each side of itself. So it's landlocked. It's literally locked itself by the sea. So you can't. The rest of Europe, for instance, connects to Middle East, Asia, even around to Africa. So you can get across by land. So we're all connected. Well, the UK's got a little bit of water between us, the channel, but it's not that big between us and France. But either way, yeah, America is isolated, more isolated than I think it recognises, and that could pose a problem in the future. I don't think America's status on the world stage is going to be as big as it has been, to be honest. I think other countries are going to come to prominence. It's going to be interesting. So instead of that, let's just look at this crap, because I really don't want to watch Trump. He does my head in. I have no respect.
Have you said thank you once this entire video?
So you got Vance saying to Zelensky, if you said thank you once, well, why has he got to say thank you publicly on the camera? Like, have some decorum, That's just so rude to call someone out like that. And how do you know he hasn't said thank you behind the scenes when they were doing the trade deals in the first place to try with the weapons and things? They're just bullying him in the office with all the media around him. And you think, how many people... And that's the thing with bullies. Like, they always try to outnumber people. Zelensky, I don't know if Zelensky's sitting on his own or whether he's got... Because there is people to the side, but I bet they're American... placed people. I bet he's on his own as a Ukrainian official, and he's surrounded by maybe 6 or 7 Americans. And they're trying to strong arm him. That's all they're doing. And they're trying to berate him publicly. And again, I think it's for Putin's benefit. And Trump does not let people talk, and neither does this idiot. And bear in mind, before we get there, I'm pretty sure there was the footage of Elon Musk doing a press conference in the Oval Office. I think it was the Oval Office, with Trump sitting behind his desk, and Elon Musk wasn't wearing a suit. So I don't see them questioning Elon Musk on whether he's wearing a suit.
No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Oh, I see. I think what he's saying there is Zelensky favoured the other party in politics. He wasn't siding with Trump, and I think they're taking it out on him that he did not promote them. So they want him to sort of suck up and show some respect to this president. I think that's what they're trying to say here. They're a joke.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly.
Interrupts him, never lets him finish a sentence. See, people with respect and decorum, which is what they really should have, in that if you're going to be if you're going to be heads of state, you should have the most impeccable decorum. You should be able to articulate. You should be able to communicate with people, which means allowing time for them to listen and then time to speak. It's don't keep talking over each other. That's just bully tactics. So every time Zelensky talks, Trump talks over him, but gets really loud. And I always say that the loudest in the room isn't always the most intelligent, or it's not necessarily they have the best thing to say. They're just bullies. Yeah, so just we just look this. But what I want to say about the suit situation, even like I'm not a suity person. I look good in a suit, but I wouldn't always wear what people expect me to wear. I'll do what I want. I'm a very simple person. I've got like 10 of these black shirts. I like wearing my zip jackets just because if I get hot, I can take it off. So people who see an awful lot of my video content, I'll wear a grey one or a black one. They always get washed. So it's a black one or a grey one, black one or grey one. I have other clothes, but they're just what I'm comfortable in. I'm not here to present myself as a fashionista or try and set some status here. I just wear what's comfortable to me. So some people could see my content and think, he's always wearing the same stuff. Yeah, because it's comfortable with me. I can give a shit. Like I said, I've got loads of these black shirts. It's just I've got to put that one in a wash, get another one. Put that one in a wash, get another one. Put that one in a wash. I'm not here for I don't care about fashion. That's the least of my concerns. It's the least of my concerns. And I don't think wearing suits always makes a difference. So, and the guy is stuck in the middle of a war right now, Zelensky. So I don't know if he's really got time to be messing about, trying to act like he's anything he's not. He was thrust into this position, really, and he's doing a bit. I think he's doing the best he can. But waffling on about a suit, come on, man.
He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3
What a load of shit. I'm pretty sure America didn't bring in weapons immediately. They were very slow to the game. I'm pretty sure America was. It was the UK, I think, was standing up first and foremost for Ukraine. America was always slow to react. So the idea that I think they would have capitulated after 3 days, they didn't. So I don't think that's the case at all. I actually think there's going to be an issue here now with Trump because he's too petulant. He takes things personal. His pride's been hurt because someone didn't kiss his ass. And I think he will stop supporting Ukraine. I actually think he will. And again, he'll hide behind the fact they've had this argument. He's showing no respect. They'll hide behind that. But really, it's to strengthen Putin because that's what they want to do at the moment for some weird reason. It's quite sad, but I can see there's already been Europe have already spoke about an aid package to Ukraine. So Russia, I think Germany are sending tanks and some military weapons like missiles and things. Now, I hate war, but you've got to stand up to bullies. And I think the UK will be front and center with it too. So I think what will happen here is America's overstating its importance. Now it's important, but I think other nations can fill the void. But what that means is America's influence diminishes. So America can hold back and say, look, we're not wasting this money. Now bear in mind, America's if not one of the biggest arms dealers in the world. So effectively, I see past all the propaganda. So if America says you need to start increasing your military spending, your defense budget, what they're really saying is, we need you to start buying more of our hardware. So if you're going to buy ammunition, you're going to buy military jets, you're going to buy tanks, you're going to buy anything and everything to do with ammo, to do with arms, we can produce this in America and we can supply you. So you need to increase your defense spending. Effectively, it invests in America as a military machine. That's what they want to do. It's unreal. But they'll hide behind the military spending because America wouldn't want its hardware to go obsolete. So they always have to find a cause to be battling anyway, so they can get rid of what they're using, so they can keep using American taxpayers' money to keep funding the spending on the military stuff. So If you're not using stuff, you wouldn't have to spend so much, would you? So they keep using it, and they'll always find a cause, of course. The scary part, I guess, would be is if America truly sided with Russia and started to actually invade Ukraine themselves. That would be the worst. That would be the most. That would be the most biggest betrayal ever, wouldn't it? I mean, that's if he keeps talking about because he's talking about World War III in a couple of other videos. I would argue the only way World War III happens is if America stands with Russia in it, and it becomes America and Russia against Europe. That'd be quite crazy, wouldn't it? I mean, Jesus, but that's the power people are giving one man right now. He's becoming a king, a tyrant. I wouldn't be surprised. You can't trust this guy. You couldn't have a conversation with him and believe that he's speaking the truth. He doesn't even seem to know what he's talking about when he speaks, and I find that dangerous for someone who's supposed to be leading the nation. Whoever voted for him, you gotta have your head checked.
3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Have you said?
It's going to be very hard doing business like this with someone who's got their own original thought and opinion and is not kissing my ass. If you will not bow to me, we cannot do business. This is not how officials operate. Everybody kiss my ass. It's like kiss my ass. I mean, I couldn't be a diplomat because I'd have walked out. I couldn't put up with that shit. If you're going to be disrespectful, I don't give a shit about who you are, your status. If we're not going to have a civil conversation, we'll at least listen to each other. You don't have to like each other, but you better listen to me as much as I listen to you. So don't expect me to sit there and listen to you if you're going to be so rude as to ignore me. I would walk out. I'd say it's a waste of time. It's a one-way conversation. You might as well go and talk to the mirror because I'm not going to sit here and listen to this shit. And then I'll just get up. Couldn't give a crap. Could not care less. Don't care who you are, president or not.
President Zelensky, why don't you wear a suit?
Again, remember Elon Musk didn't wear a suit. They didn't question that shit. In fact, they're all quiet in that room. So who's laughing in this video? They're mocking him. You know, this is the levels. They're just like bullies in a playground. They're kids.
President Zelensky, why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see people. Do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have
I actually think someone was probably laughing, thinking, "What a stupid question." I think it might have been. It's like, oh my god, how low are they going with this?
problems with you not respecting the dignity of this office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Costume.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something like this.
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
He's like, thank you. God's sake, what am I dealing with here? Yeah, I can't see Zelensky work. I can't see him cooperating with America anymore. I think it'll have to just be Europe supporting Ukraine. And I think that's quite sad, isn't it? But that's how petulant this presidency is. It's crazy. They are absolute morons leading a nation. It's surreal.
We have some massive breaking news right now. Donald Trump has officially canceled peace talks with Ukraine after spending over 5 minutes berating President Zelensky in the Oval Office with J.D. Vance. In a new statement, Trump writes, quote, we had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood under such fire, and it's amazing what comes through emotion. And I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Remember, Donald Trump did not use this rhetoric towards Vladimir Putin at all since taking office.
He's a clown, isn't he? Oh, he's a clown.
The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And
Tough guy. It's like, this is not the way a leader articulates themselves, you know? Like I said, have some decorum, have some intelligence in how you articulate, and present yourself better. The way he talks is like, I couldn't deal with talking to someone like this. I would literally, without being rude to a child, I'd literally feel like I'm talking to a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old boy. And again, I'm not trying to be rude here, but like girls tend to mature quicker. So a 5-year-old girl is actually usually quite intelligent, and I think more intelligent than him. And I think they'd articulate himself better than him. But a 5-year-old boy, which means me included as a 5-year-old, is probably that level. I don't think he's anywhere near the intelligence I have or the ability to communicate. So I think he would be challenged in conversation with me. I think he'd look stupid as shit, and I'd have to try and lower myself just to try and like fit in with to understanding him. I'd be like, oh my God, wait, what are you trying to say? You fix shit. But that's the president, for crying out loud. That's outrageous. That's outrageous.
I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States, and your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out.
It won't be pretty. War isn't pretty. I mean, what's he talking about? He's trying to diminish a nation all the time. You've got a literally country to fight him for its life, effectively. Literally, its life. Just like in World War II. It's crazy. And yet you've got someone here trying to berate a leader who's literally been on the front line with his troops. He's literally I've seen footage of it, you know. Look at Zelensky. He just looks so fed up with his president. It's like, it's so freaking rude. A president that just sits in the safety. If you actually look, this is how you could. I think it's just a typical example. You could argue because America's powerful that more risk, but I don't know how many heads of. If we go back into the past, I think it was Boris Johnson when he was prime minister. He was a liar. He was always lying. He was a bumbling buffoon a lot of the time. But you see him he would have his little cycle helmet on and he'd be cycling through London. He'd get the train. He'd do all these things. Like, this is the leader of the UK. And he would be just everywhere and anywhere, just as a normal person. And I think that just says a lot. The people might not like you. They might not like some things you do. They might respect you sometimes. But your life isn't really at serious risk. Your life isn't at serious risk because you're not that terrible. American leaders, they have to surround themselves with an army of people. So like the President of the United States has their Secret Service. Then they have these armoured vehicles. And then they have their own private jet that's probably armoured. But it's like, you don't see every other head of state with the same level of security. You see the dictators, for sure. Like we've seen it with North Korea, where he's got his armoured, whatever the hell it is. And I think Russia as well, but not all the other nations. I don't think they have such a high security detail as the United States of America, and I think that sometimes says everything. That you're not as there's always a threat. It seems to be there's always a threat, doesn't it? Because of what they represent and how they behave. It's just crazy. So look how disrespectful that is.
But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful, and that's not a nice thing.
At all thankful. He's trying to get America. He's trying to get Russia. This is propaganda at its best. So Trump's trying to get Ukraine to sign a deal where they can harvest their minerals. So America takes all the minerals they need from Ukraine, very valuable minerals, to pay for all the military equipment and support they've had from America. And he's trying to say, you should be being really thankful. You should be, you're not being very thankful right now. It's like, this is just narcissism at its best. He's a manipulator and people are gullible.
Don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influenced.
We're going to feel very good.
Again, I think people are really they worship Trump for some weird reason, and the way Trump's behaving is the equivalent of someone else responding to him, putting their fingers in their ear to go, "I'm not talking, I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening." But everybody else holds themselves to a higher level. But you have to deal with this level of a child next to you, who is the equivalent of a child doing that. So that's literally how Trump's behaving in his own way, but it's the same level of a kid putting their fingers in their ear and just going, "I'm not listening, I'm not listening." Look at the way Trump behaves. It's the same thing, but he's dealing with people that are higher intelligent, a bit more decorum, and they know his status. That's the real problem. If Trump didn't have the might of an American, the status of America, for instance, and the power that comes with, he wouldn't be listened to at all. If you thought about that, if he was let's say a weaker nation, a leader of a weaker nation, they wouldn't even listen to him. You'd think this guy's unhinged. But because he's the leader of America, it's like everybody has to listen, and you can see how uncomfortable people are with him. They have to tiptoe around him.
Very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing.
very-
I like that. I'm not playing cards. I'm being serious, Mr. President. It's like Trump just talks crap.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country,
I'm
that's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you
your
far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank you?
There you go. A lot of times. A lot of times. That's what I said. Who knows what he said behind closed doors at the beginning of this war and all the other terms. They just want him to kiss Trump's ass. You know, if I was in that room, I'd say kiss my ass. I don't give a shit who you are as a leader. He's also the leader of his own country here. You know, he represents his people. The disrespect in this room is so loud.
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of
you speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
I'd have to say kiss my ass. I don't care. I couldn't deal with it. That's why I couldn't be a head of state, because I can't do this diplomacy shit. It's fake. They don't like each other, but you're supposed to be representing your own nations. So I think like it just shows. It's too personal for Trump and that, but you can see they're on the wrong side of history.
Your country's
Can I-
in big
can-
trouble.
can I
Wait a minute.
answer?
No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone.
Folks, things are going off the rails right now in an Oval Office meeting between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Volodymyr Zelensky.
Oksana Markarova, she is the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States, with her head in her hands, stunned, in disbelief at what we witnessed here. Walk us through your reaction, the way this is going to be viewed for the people who are now in the fourth year of an.
Well, I would say, looking at that, you've got the press reporters all around the side there. I'm not sure how much you can see it, but they do look concerned, and none of them look impressed. And I think that's the thing. What you see on camera is just two or three people, and it's easy to garner a situation from that. And you think, yeah, but like he's made his point, he's winning the argument. Then you look around the room and no one's impressed with Trump. It's a bully in a playground. He can't articulate himself and has no intelligence. And then he fills himself with yes men who tell him he's the best person on the planet. He's so smart. It's like he's just pandering to an idiot. And the rest of the room, full of people who actually have maybe some intelligence and some moral compass, they're like, what am I watching here? This is a train wreck. This is not how you behave. And yet, if someone else was leading this country that's not one of these corrupt puppets, that would have been a far more professional meeting with a head of state, and they would have shown him some decorum. Like, America is on the wrong side of history.